My name is Matthias Olafsson, and I serve as Chief Europe Representative of the Methanol Institute. I am coming to you for this this video from a hotel lobby in London, where I'm attending the Intersessional Working Group for greenhouse gases at the International Maritime Organization under the delegation of the International Bunker Industry Association. And I was asked to share my perspectives on the discussions taking place here in London, especially in the light of next week's MEPC 81 meeting, where possibly important decisions related to the energy transition of maritime transport will be made, or at least initiated. So I think for me, the objective as a representative of the alternative fuel supply chain, really, I think the objective of the discussions, from my perspective, are to essentially strengthen the conditions for ramping up alternative fuel supply and encourage the overall adoption of alternative fuels in maritime transport. And to do that, the Assembly needs to send strong investment signals to the fuel supply chain in the form of clear, ambitious greenhouse gas reduction strategy, and that will be composed of several elements. And I think the key measure, which is currently under discussion in the context of a possible basket of measures aimed at reducing emissions from maritime transport, is the global fuel standard. And this seems to be a pretty good consensus on its general design and its impact. A global fuel standard, the GFS, would essentially have incrementally rising targets for greenhouse gas reduction, where the obligated parties would be the ship owners or charters, and is particularly aimed at addressing non-compliance by deploying penalties. This is a very important measure for the previously mentioned objectives, because it gives a clear trajectory towards an end goal, whether it be 2040 or 2050, and thus enhances the visibility for the obligated parties on the sort of regulatory developments, and thus creates clear conditions for investments in alternative fuels. The GFS must, of course, be based on and accompanied by a comprehensive well-to-wake strategy. A well-to-wake approach is a measure to calculate greenhouse gas intensity of fuels, which takes into account the entire supply chain, and thus factors into the overall carbon footprint of or greenhouse gas reduction profile of a fuel, the upstream emissions associated with feedstocks, processing emissions, and combustion as well. So yeah, the GFS must be based on a comprehensive well-to-wake approach, which must also encompass the specific factors such as the eligibility of captured carbon in the life cycle analysis, indirect land use change for fuels produced from biomass, and also for fuels produced from biomass, a negative carbon footprint factor with feedstocks that are able to deliver such results. And of course, it must come with a registry of default emissions and the clear ability of fuel producers to certify on basis of actual emissions as determined by the well-to-wake approach and certified by a voluntary certification scheme. But a accompanied with encouraging the adoption of alternative fuels with GFS, we also need to make fossil fuel use, the traditional fossil fuel use, more expensive. And in combination with the GFS, that would effectively drive uptake of alternative fuels. And to do that sort of hand to hand, the IMO needs to deploy an economic measure, a carbon pricing mechanism of some sort. And I see that as either a levy, a fee-based mechanism, or some sort of emission trading, or if the overall objective of bridging the gap between the cost of alternative fuels and traditional fuels is attained through deployment of these mechanisms, that should be the primary goal. And perhaps finally, for this contribution, I think also it is important that these measures come with a flexibility mechanism, a sort of book and claim chain of custody model where sustainability attributes are decoupled at the point of production and sold via a digital distribution system, so that consumers of the fuel product would not need to have it physically transported across the world. I think we're in a position to leverage the immense technology we have access to, and fuel procurement should be a part of that. And there are various discussions here at the IMO regarding a potential flexibility mechanism, but I definitely see that as an important factor in the greenhouse gas reduction strategy, as it would meet the fuel supply chain needs quite well. Often production of e-fuels or biofuels is geographically located in areas which are perhaps quite far away from its intended destination, with commercial implications behind it, and therefore mitigating or eliminating the need for physical transport of the fuel would serve to support the overall objective of encouraging the adoption of alternative fuels. So I think that's it from me on these elements, and I look forward to the results of MEPC and hope that the IMO can meet its objective of having finalized a midterm basket of midterm measures by MEPC 83, and thus give clarity to producers of alternative fuels.